Alright, what's going on guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back again here on PlayStation Source, and the next big PS5 game. Nope, it's not Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, even though that one is something that we are very much looking forward to. It is Returnal, coming out on April 30th for the PS5. Housemarque's Returnal is set not only to combine the studio's signature fast-paced combat with a third-person perspective, but also tell a dark and bold story as well. And so obviously there is another popular roguelike that was on the scene last year called Hades that did its story with damn near perfection, so it stands to question if Housemarque's new roguelike with Returnal can attain the same achievement while having this really good gameplay loop while also having this very intriguing story. So we've seen a ton of gameplay, but Housemarque promises that the story is not meant to compromise the gameplay but heighten and blend with it in tandem. So let's go over some details we got from the PS blog, going over what Selene will go through on planet Atropos in Returnal and what the story has in store for us. Starting off here, let's go over some basic stuff here, okay? So you have seen in plenty of gameplay and promotional trailers that Selene is our main protagonist, who interestingly is a Greek American, which, you know, of course, you know, not that diverse, but still pretty cool that they are detailing that, you know, she is Greek. I'm hoping that there could be some really cool things involving her character and her being Greek as well, but she is a deep space scout that is described as complex yet resourceful, which I guess is an interesting way to say that she's kind of cryptic and like intelligent as well, I guess, but pretty cool description. Okay, I'll take it. But where you find her in Returnal is that this is the first time in her career that she's disobeying orders and travels to an alien planet called Atropos in order to find the source of a broadcast signal called White Shadow. So very interesting like premise here. I guess that, you know, she's some type of like, I guess, goody and always follows orders, and this time she's not going to for some reason about this broadcast signal. So overall, definitely pretty cool premise that, you know, definitely has me interested. And she crash lands on the planet, which we have seen in multiple gameplays and trailers as well, but she crash lands and finds that Atropos is filled with ruins of an ancient civilization, statues, gates, xenotech, which is technology from Atropos itself, and more. The planet is also filled with hostile creatures as well that reside on Atropos and will attack Selene, which of course they will act as our main enemies in the game, which we have seen plenty of them in combat gameplay. A lot of really wild looking creatures, so I'm excited to see just how weird they're gonna get with the creature design, because like so far we've seen a lot of really cool designs, and I hope that they double down and really just give us really weird things to fight. Housemarque details that Selene will be one of the only human elements in the game, so they really wanted her to be someone that the player can root for and connect with on a deeper level. They also say that Selene was also designed with that in mind, with her suit being bright and contrasty to the dark landscapes of Atropos in comparison, which definitely allows her to be tracked easier in combat, because definitely combat seems to be very fast in this game, but definitely makes sense because, you know, her suit design is very sleek, very bright looking. You got whites and yellows in there, so pretty cool to see that they're trying to kind of blend her personality and how we are meant to interpret her in terms of us rooting for her, while also having this physical design that makes a lot of sense with that whole thing, while also making sure you don't lose track of her while you are in fast combat. And of course, speaking of fast combat, this is a roguelike, so it is a very crucial part of Returnal that you are in a cycle of death, and when you die, Selene gets brought right back to the cockpit of her ship just before she crash lands. However, after every death, the layout of Atropos will change, making one run never the same as another. So this is going to be really cool to see from a three-dimensional perspective, like to really see like a third-person fully realized game world change every time you respawn and get back into the game onto Atropos. I think it's going to be super cool, but the story Selene goes through is told piece by piece as you progress through Atropos, seeing new environments, hostile creatures, traps, hazards, and more. We've actually seen some of these environments already, from a red desert called Crimson Waste and this capped snow environment that we did not get the name of yet, but we do know that the desert name is Crimson Waste. So really cool locations. I'm really glad that they did show us these different locations, because there were some conjecture and some commentary early on that Returnal didn't look as diverse in terms of its landscape and location, but we are definitely going away from just that forest that we see overall in the gameplay. Each location will have new creatures to encounter, along with more story to discover that that goes beyond the opening region of the game, which I did mention was that forest that we see all the time in gameplay and trailers, but it's actually called the Overgrown Ruins, which is this maze-like forest that we've seen a lot of already. And it looks pretty cool that, you know, amongst it being dark and like really mysterious and cryptic, it is also a literal kind of like maze-like forest. So it's gonna be pretty cool to see how they change those environments overall from run to run. So our main protagonist Selene here can utilize xenotech to find shortcuts to different environments and make permanent progress and upgrades with the help of certain items that don't go away when you die and go through another cycle. So there will be a lot of things that are temporary, that are just for your one run, and there are other things that you can permanently progress and have certain upgrades to make you stronger for, you know, future runs and different stuff like that. So definitely something that I was very cool to have happen with this game. Definitely wanted to see it happen, where, you know, roguelikes can be very roguelikey where you lose everything, but I do like my roguelikes with just a little bit of, you know, permanent upgrade. Just like give me a little something to work towards, a little something to make me stronger throughout all my runs in the future. But going into the cycles themselves, okay, so Returnal will also have these instances called Xeno Archives. So these Xeno Archives are holographic statues that tell the story of the ancient civilization of the Atropos. And the game also has xenoglyphs, which tell the same story but from another point of view. So you can tell here that they are really going to flesh out this game with a lot of lore, a lot of stories, a lot of background, from you discovering what this ancient population on Atropos, like, you know, told their own story through their own eyes, as well as you exploring and seeing it for yourself and discerning for yourself what could have happened on this planet. While Xeno Archives can be easily deciphered since they are visual, xenoglyphs need to be translated via language samples collected throughout your runs in the game. So this sounds super cool, how you're going to be able to find different like language samples and be able to translate these xenoglyphs, and it sounds like it's going to take longer to decipher a xenoglyph as opposed to a Xeno Archive. Super cool stuff here. But in the trailer, this is where we get really cool stuff with this game, guys. So in the trailer, we see Selene discover her own scout corpse, which to me was like, what are we doing here, right, guys? Like, what is going on with this game? But it's more than just a way to trip out the player by seeing, you know, Selene's body essentially dead in front of you, right? It represents either other players' deaths that are also playing Returnal via the game's online systems, or a scout audio log by other versions of Selene that she does not remember recording. So this is the coolest thing in the world, okay? So the scout audio logs just tell more lore and story as you progress, but the projections are other players' deaths that are also playing Returnal that die in similar spots that really offer you a very cool way to interact with them. So how this works is that if you are playing Returnal and you come across a body on the floor, right, it can either be, once again, a projection of another player's death or a scout audio log, okay? If the corpse represents another player's death, it will play a projection of how that player died, and then at the end, you can either scavenge the remains for items or avenge their deaths that triggers an event that they described as, quote, best discovered when you play. I love this, okay, because there were certain parts in Hades where Hades would give you a lot of little decisions in a given run multiple times during that run, and that could drastically change and branch off how your run goes down, from you being successful to you just getting the wrong combination of perks and weapons, and you kind of just, you know, just shit out of luck at some point, right? I hope that we are given really cool rewards for avenging a player, and maybe, you know, sometimes if you just pick the items, maybe the items aren't that good. Like, I really want to see a lot of those little decisions that we have to make in Hades make it over to Returnal, because I think it just adds a lot of diversity to a game where you are doing a lot of the same things multiple times, given it being a roguelike. So I really hope that they add a lot of different choices and decisions that players can make in a given run. And then there's the PT looking sections of the game. There honestly is no better way to explain this to you guys than to just simply read what they had to say about that tidbit about the game. They say here, quote, Selene also discovers a mysterious house that that is strangely familiar. Returnal is primarily a third-person action experience, but Selene and players can also choose to go inside this house on Atropos in atmospheric first-person story sequences where she confronts strange and familiar events inside that you need to piece together. So this sounds like what Housemarque talks about when they say that Returnal is having elements of like horror and thriller and different stuff like that. I bet the house part stuff is super trippy, super crazy, and I bet that's why they don't want to talk about it. But I would hope that, you know, once again here they say that it is a choice for you to go into this house. So I'm hoping that with these choices there are reasons why you would not want to go in there, but then there's also reasons why you might want to go in there. And I'm hoping that there is, once again, this really cool, you know, balancing act of player choice and what you're gonna do in a given run given your intel from what you have garnered in previous runs. Oh my god, I cannot wait for that element in this game, and I hope it's in Returnal on April 1st on PS5. And ladies and gentlemen, that has been all of the story details that we have about Returnal. I think all I'll say, honestly guys, at the end of the video is that I'm really happy that they really took the time to spend a lot of time on the game's story, because, you know, after Hades, I feel like there is now a new precedent and like a new challenge of like, can developers make roguelikes with as enticing stories and as fleshed out narratives like Hades? And I feel like Returnal has a very good shot at doing that here with all that they have laid out here about Returnal's story. So what do you guys think about it, guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you liking what you're hearing? Do you hate what you're hearing? Do you wish it was just a regular gameplay roguelike? Do you hope that it has all the story that you are wanting for and more? Let me know your thoughts, let me comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, you can check out our description where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Anchor link. That way you can listen to our long form content and podcasts. All right, those of course being the Road 2 series and Save Slot podcast as well. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.